Good morning, students. Good morning, professor. My name is Vladimir Calderon, and I'm part of the EMCC's Honors Program, and I'm here to talk to you guys about my paper. My paper was about how does cybercrime affect the global economy, not only the U.S. one, but the major economy. The reason why I did this was because to bring awareness to the fact that cybercrime is going to be more prevalent in the future, and how cybercrime, because it's still a crime considered by the FBI, the DOJ, Department of Homeland Security, how does cybercrime correlate between that attack and the economy? In my paper, I brought up 3 case studies. Each case study was very different. The first one was the 2017 data breach for Equifax, one of the 3 major credit bureaus. The other one was a pipeline, gas pipeline that is major on that southwest, where Florida is and New York, that main area. And the third was how COVID also brought a lot more, more crime into this. So the problem I really wanted to state was how does cybercrime affect not only the U.S. economy but the global one. How I did this was, unfortunately, there isn't a lot of peer-reviewed papers or journal articles about this. Not yet, anyways. Technology, if you think about it, technology is very new and very unique still. Technology only came out around 2000s. My parents were around 2000. That's when the internet really started gain some traction. Apple really started to blow off. Microsoft started to go. Facebook also started to go as well because of Mark Zuckerberg. So there isn't really a lot of recent peer-reviewed journals, and if there are, it doesn't really go into depth of cybercrime and the effects it can have on the economy just yet. So how I did this was good old trusty NIST programs. NIST stands for the policies of how to protect and secure a system. The FBI and their papers, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, they have a very compiled just documents of how how does cybercrime affect, they say how cybercrime affects the state in general. Department of Justice also has a paper about it, but they don't really take an account of the cybercrime. They take account of how it affects a person. And if it affects a person, like the data breach for Equifax affects one, it may affect millions of Americans. So it's important to know what the DOJ considers a cybercrime. The Department of Homeland Security, I also had to go deep into their documents to find the things I needed to build this project. Even though the ones I just mentioned, the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, the DOJ, what else did I mention? Yeah. Even though I mentioned all those 3, those have very different definitions for what cybercrime is and how it affects the economy. The results I found was that cybercrime really does affect the economy. In my paper, I wrote 3 case studies. To what right now I can only remember is 2. The first case study I want to go over was the 2017 data breach for Equifax. If you don't know, Equifax is one of the 3 major credit bureaus. So if you have a credit card, they most likely go through one of those. In 2017, a attacker was able to find a way into a secure network by, I do not remember correctly, I'm pretty sure it was because of a 2-factor authentication misconfiguration. So if you ever go into your EMCC and they send you a text and you have to put it in, that's a multi-factor authentication method. It helps you because you're the only one with that phone number. So it's supposed to only send it to you. But if there's a misconfiguration, an attacker could place themselves in the middle between the computer, the token, and you, right here. That means that the attacker would just redirect the token to them, grab the hash, encrypt it, decrypt it, then send it back to you, and they kind of have access now. In that data breach, millions of Americans' information was not only sold in the dark web, but it took 3 months for it to finally be revealed that the data breach happened. This costed Equifax about $400 trillion between legal fees, because if there's a data breach and it's found to be your fault, the FBI they give you a huge hefty sum, because there's supposed to be a compliance for each company, and if you're not onto that compliance, then that's your fault. That's how the FBI really kind of just manipulates that. Compensation. Consumers' compensation not only was because the Americans, data out there, but it was important data. Well, social securities, addresses, birth dates, government names, phone numbers, and the list just keeps going on. What else? Yeah, legal fees. Oh, we're busting, actually trying to get a decent network out there. So meaning they had to really fortify their defense. Oh, consumer trust was lost during that whole shenanigan that was happening around. About, I'll say, roughly about 1 million Americans started doing a credit freeze. So if you don't know what a credit freeze is that before you can go take out a loan, if you have a credit freeze, the loan officer sees this and cannot take out any loans or a new credit card as long as that credit freeze is still on. Others started doing ID me for their social security. So again, so people wouldn't do taxes under their name. So that ruined Equifax reputation. If you go to the website right now, all their reputation, all their first main page is about the Equifax data breach. That ruined their reputation. So that made them lose, credibility. The investors didn't really want to invest with them anymore. Their stock in the beginning of the year was around 150. After the data breach, it was about $90. That's a $60 difference. Not only that, but they had lost of millions and millions of dollars just trying to fix the problem. That did cause some, not in the macro scale, but that caused just a shift, or that crippled the economy, at least a little. Not a lot, but a little. The second thing I wanted to talk about was the pipeline, and that happened around, I don't remember when it happened, but there was a pipeline that was attacked by ransomware, which means that the attacker sends a hacked file, you download it, and now they lock you out of your system. For every system, they lock you out until you pay a hefty sum. Usually the sum is about, depending on the company, about trillions of dollars or billions of dollars or millions of dollars. That depends on each attacker. But that caused the pipeline to shut down, the gas pipeline to shut down for at least, I think, a week. This drove up gas prices about 60 cents. You might not think, well, 60 cents, it's not too much, but right now we're crying about, gas was just yesterday $3, now it's $3.50. That really starts adding on in the long run. So all that side of the U.S. America, so where Florida is, where New York is, where Rhode Island is, they suffered from a gas shortage. People started learning about this breach, and guess what they did? They panic bought a whole bunch of gas. So the gas went further up. They panicked about gas reputation. So even though gas is a like a flexible thing. So no matter how high it raises, the price raises, you still kind of have to buy it. Then the third was that they started storing a lot more gas. Like the FBI read a report, did a report on this and said that at least a family was keeping 5 gallons of gas just near their home, just in case of emergencies, because they thought that gas would run out. But thankfully, Joe Biden and the government was able to react quick enough that didn't really pass over a week. So that did not halt the economy to complete stop, but it did cripple at least that side of the U.S. America, crippled all those other states. Not only did gas prices shot up by 60 cents, but the pipeline company had to pay, I think it was like close to $1 trillion for a ransomware to finally get off. The DOJ, which is Department of Homeland Justice, I think it is, yeah. They paid half of that. They paid half of that because it was found that it was not entirely their fault. It was a human error because somebody downloaded something and kind of screwed them over. So there was the legal fees weren't too bad. The legal fee, if there was any legal fees, I assume it was for employee training, because if you run a company, you're supposed to have employee training, so things like this doesn't happen. Oh yeah, that's about it for legal fees. They paid the DOJ paid half of the amount because it wasn't really their fault. So it wasn't like a system problem, it was like a human error problem, and so on and so forth. That's the 2 case studies I really wanted to talk about when it came to how the cybercrime affects how cybercrime can affect the economy. Both of those show really great examples, not only by driving up gas inflation, but also messing with the U.S.'s reputation and how business can fall. Because if we believe it or not, sometimes a lot of businesses don't report that they had a breach, or they don't report that there's ongoing cybercrime. They don't report it because they're trying to avoid the legal fees, which is bad. That's what I found while doing this report. Cybercrime does drive up inflation, does affect company reputation, stops sometimes if an attacker attacks a supply chain, so where the commercial boats start loading up, that could affect the supply chain and lower investors' confidence. So cybercrime really does start affecting the meaning of what I found. So the meaning of what I found. This means that cybercrime later in the future will become a lot more prevalent. A lot of companies are investing in AI, artificial intelligence. They're investing in quantum computing. Microsoft's built a new state of Matter, which is surprising because they have not released a new Xbox game at all. What else? Oh yeah, a lot more components. A lot more components are becoming more sophisticated. Huge networkings. As a company grows, like Microsoft, Facebook, they need more network components. And lastly, the most important is that there is not enough cybersecurity professionals out there. There's a shortage right now, even though that this field has seen a major increase in cyber professionals. There's still a major shortage of this. So this is very important for later on in the future when it comes to this. Cybercrime at one point or the other can cripple a nation, and most likely will as well, if they're able to get into sensitive data information from the credit bureaus. Don't think they cannot enter a government system. It's happened before. So, to conclude, cybercrime can and will affect the economy. Now, doesn't matter if it's small or large, but it will as long as innovation keeps coming our way. Thank you. That was my paper. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you found it at least entertaining, or at least interesting, because this will be our future, the future of my little sister, and maybe the future of my kids when they start growing up. Besides that, thank you, Professor. Thank you, classmates, for hearing me out. I appreciate you guys so much. And have a great rest of your day. Bye.